Streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to fix it, and our running back coach didn't take the biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling. I want to invite you into the conversation. You can get in on it at 205-342-9904, 205-342-9904. That's the Alabama One hotline. So jump right in on the conversation. You can also join us on chat via our online network. You can always find us at Martin Houston 35 on YouTube and Twitter, as well as the Martin Houston 35 on Facebook. And you can find us under Exit and O Sports, amongst other various outlets. So love to invite you in on the conversation so you can be a part of what we're talking about right here on Tide 100.9. Remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice and be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. We got lots of conversation we can get to. Of course, Nick Saban bypassing Saturday as an opportunity to have a scrimmage. What are your thoughts on that? Do you read anything into that? Any concerns that he allowed that opportunity to bypass us? So there you go. You can talk about that. We can talk about who are you seeing as the player that's going to emerge out of this year's spring practice? Who's going to become that leader? One of the things we haven't talked very much about is the departure of Will Anderson. We've said a whole lot about Bryce and the quarterback, but Dallas Turner's out. So who's going to take advantage of the fact that both of the outside linebackers from last year not participating in spring practice? Do we see a young superstar jump up and take advantage of that? Are you excited about those guys, or Braswell locking down one side potentially, and who's going to be the other guy, the next man up, the next two men up, etc.? Also, when you look at the running backs, we may get to this, may not, but I was just thinking about some of the really, really good running backs Alabama's had, who's the best of those guys, because Alabama's put some dogs in the league. Derrick Henry, is he the best? Is Josh Jacobs the best? He's making a case himself. And where would Jahmyr Gibbs end up playing out? Will Jahmyr Gibbs end up being the best of the Alabama guys based on this new style of play in the NFL? That's up for conversation. Then you flip over to the hardwood, man. There's been so much positive around the program. But my question to you today, X and others, are you concerned about Alabama basketball? Lots of guys appear to be declaring for but leaving the foot on both sides of the fence. So we can talk about that as well. Does that give you any pause, replacing coaches, replacing, who can get paid X? Petway
Who's that?
Petway is about to get paid. He's about to get paid because you know that they're going to have to pay him because they're looking at that. So we can talk about basketball, whether you're concerned or not. Then we have several guys declaring for the draft. Some saying, "Hey, I'm keeping my eligibility." Others not saying one way or the other. So we can figure out what they're going to do. And then, last but definitely not least, the Final Four. I hate that I was right, X, and a lot of people may not remember this because I didn't spend a lot of time on it. You remember who my dark horse was for the championship to win it?
Yeah, San Diego State.
Well, Heartbreak Kids did it again. Going to be taking on UConn tonight. So we can talk about whether you think they get over the hump or not. And then, of course, maybe the coach of the year, Kim Mulkey, taking the LSU Tigers to a national championship, the first ever. Wouldn't it have been something if Alabama could have held up their side of the deal if they could have got there? She took over a Baylor program in 2000X that was 7-20 the year before, and then proceeded to take them to the first NCAA tournament in her first year. And we know what all she was able to do there. And she came to LSU with the intent of building another program, and she's done that. So at this point, you have to start putting her name up there as a one of the top coaches, whether you look at male or female. But the reason I bring it up is she did something that LSU's never done. And so what do you do there? Is it coaching? Is it talent? What is it? And can Alabama get over that hump? Because we had the team this year to get there and we didn't. So let's have a great day. Want to remind everybody this week is Passion Week as we head toward Resurrection Sunday. So I want to go ahead and invite you to come join us on Resurrection Sunday, Easter Sunday at Harvest Church. We'd love to have you come be a part. We'll kick things off, tip things off, or throw the first pitch at 10 a.m. So let's have a blessed week because of what was done in terms of the Christian faith this week, which is, to me, the most powerful holiday of the year. Because he gave it all, I'm going to give my all, and hopefully we'll let you give your all today as well. Actually, were you about to say something?
No, you got it.
All right, let's go ahead and get Curtis in. Curtis, you're in with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Yes, sir, Martin. That was one heck of a game yesterday with the women put on. And that just goes to show, yes, it is coaching, yes, it is recruiting, and yes, it can be done in a.
You still there? It clipped off at the end. Aiden, is he still there? All right. Well, we'll circle back. That'll be getting lost. Curtis on this side. Bring him back in. Aiden. But X, when you look at, let's kind of. He started to say some things right there. It's coaching. It's recruiting. It's all of those things. And it always tickles me when I hear people talk about like recruiting isn't part of it, like in part of the game in the college game is your ability to recruit as a coach. I don't care what sport it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I think I know where Curtis was headed with that. He's not the biggest fan of Christy Curry here at Alabama. So I'm pretty sure he's talking about a change being made here at the university. But yeah, I mean, you look at what Kim Mulkey has done. It was only her second year at LSU. She's 60-8 in 2 years. So, I mean, LSU was a pretty decent program before she got there, but she was able to get that team and program over the hump this year. And congratulations to her. And the performance that the Tigers put on yesterday, slowing down, not stopping, but slowing down Caitlin Clark, who has been the best player in the country throughout the year, and especially during the tournament with some of her performances. You're talking about men's and women's tournament basketball having a 30-point triple-double and a 40-point triple-double. So it's just a great accomplishment and a will to win at the end of the day.
Yeah, team over great player. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and bring Curtis back in. X, let's move you back over to Clean Feed on the video side, and you can rejoin us over there. But let's go ahead before you do that. Let's do that after the break. Curtis, you're back in with Martin and Xavier. What's on your mind? Still not hearing Kurt. I tell you what, Aiden, so we can get everything set up. Let's go ahead and go to break here. We'll come back on the other side. Curtis, if you can hold through the break, we'll get you on the other side. We'll appreciate you being part of it. Hey, we'll keep the conversation going. We're talking about, just the Mulkey situation at LSU, but making that comparison to, I think, Alabama basketball, both male and female, men and women's basketball here at the Capstone. We'll keep the conversation going right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9.
By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly cloudy today, a good chance of showers and strong thunderstorms, the high 75. For tonight, a few isolated showers, mostly cloudy with a low at 64. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds with widely scattered showers or storms, the high 83. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 55 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Scott Smith and Softmark Design, doing business for 17 plus years, specializing in graphic design services, commercial printing, promotional products, advertising specialties, and so much more. Basically, any and everything you would need to advertise, promote, and grow your business. Through strong partnerships, strong customer service, and creative ideas, they'll help you market and grow your business. Give Scott a call at 205-292-4680 or email scottis@comcast.net and visit them online at softmarkdesign.com.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
All right, welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. We're live, local, and ready to get things going on Tide 100.9. Wow, talking a little bit about Mulkey and the job that she did at LSU, bringing a program that has not been to the mountaintop, taking them to the mountaintop with the win. Man, I would have loved to have seen South Carolina and LSU go at it, but Iowa and Caitlin Clark took care of that. But the was able to take care of Iowa on yesterday, and I think Curtis was wanting to make a point there, and I want to give him an opportunity to do that. So, Curtis, you're back in with Martin and Xavier on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Yes, a third time's a charmer.
All right, you're there.
Now, okay. LSU's girls program was further in the dirt than Alabama is now or was at that time. LSU was 6-19 the year before Mulkey came there. She took them to the second round of the playoffs her first year, and of course her second year they won it all. It just goes to show you that if you get the right coach, which we missed that chance with Dawn Staley, I've said that before, we had a chance to hire her, but we said she didn't have enough experience. Well, now we got another team in the SEC that's about to come up again. Next year, they're going to be a team to beat next year, and that's going to be Ole Miss. So that young coach is doing the same things that Mulkey and Staley are doing now, and she's doing it. So if Alabama continues as we're going, we will get further and further behind. LSU done what we've done in football. Coach available when we got Saban. The best coach available, which was a championship-winning coach. LSU done the exact same thing. They went and got the best coach available and brought Mulkey back home to LSU, well, to Louisiana, because she was a Louisiana Tech girl, but brought her back home. And look where they're at now. It's just, you got to make the change. If you don't make the change, you can't blame anybody. You look at Carolina, you look at LSU, they sold the PMAC out 7 times for women's basketball. South Carolina sells their little Coliseum out every spring time for women's basketball. And that would go a huge way for us to be able to get that new Coliseum for our basketball program, not just the boys, but for the men too. But if you got extra hand helping you, you're going to make a little bit more money a little bit faster than you would with just that one program. And it doesn't seem like our school is trying to get to that point. It's like we're running a race with only one leg. It's getting beat every single time.
Yeah, and you can't argue with they set the bar high, and it's kind of crazy to think about her coaching ability. Talking about Mulkey, because Baylor was 7-20 when she came.
Yeah.
And then they made the playoffs in the first year, but the record went, and then they went 21-9, 27-6, 24-11, NIT runner-up, Sweet 16, boom, champion. So you can see the progression.
Yeah.
You can see the progression each year. And then she, from there it was, playoffs. The tournament every year and 3 championships at Baylor. and it's kind of hard to believe that they got her to leave Baylor, but they paid the price to get her there, and was LSU the best team? No, but they probably the second best team. I think the best team got shocked by Iowa in Staley. But will Alabama do anything? I don't know. I don't know. You kind of have to ask yourself, why not? Because I think Alabama basketball, women's basketball, I think what happened before Curry came here showed me Alabama's commitment to women's basketball. I love Wendell Hudson and everything he stood for.
Yeah,
they let him do the women's basketball here was bad, bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it made you cringe.
Yeah. And where they're at now is much better. But what do we want? What's the expectation? So and
we want championships. But now, did you also see the controversy at the end of that game? What everybody was been talking about since then, because during the tournament, Caitlin Clark would give the John Cena signature move.
Yeah,
she would give that little move.
Yep.
And of course, everybody was ranting and waving about Caitlin Clark, and she is the best player in the women's game, right? There's no doubt about that. But Angel Reese sat there and done the exact same thing in front of her. Next thing you know, they're saying she's a thug and a ghetto and all this other stuff about her for doing it to her. It says bad sportsmanship and stuff. Well, Caitlin Clark been doing that the whole tournament.
And sadly, that's not the worst thing she was. Sadly, that's not the worst thing she was called. I did see that, Curtis, and it's very telling in some aspects. And that wasn't the only thing Caitlin Clark did throughout the tournament. She told the girl from Louisville, "You're down 15, shut up." She was very flamboyant and arrogant through the tournament because of her play, which I have no problem with. I have no problem with it.
Here's the thing. Unfortunately, Curtis. I can say it because I think I call when I see blacks doing things that I disagree with, I'll call it out. When I see whites doing things I disagree with, I'll call it out. I pastor a church that's 90% non-black. So because it's not all white, we have several different nationalities, but the lowest percentage of my church is African American. So I can say things that some people may be afraid to say because of the life I live. I believe I try to call out when I see wrong is wrong. Now, here's the thing. I think, unfortunately, a lot of those conversations are coming down on racial lines. And it's sad that it's sad that we're watching a basketball game where because it ends up being a championship, more eyes are on it, right? A lot of the people who are making those statements did not see what she had done, Caitlin Clark. And I don't think Caitlin Clark did anything wrong either. Okay.
She did.
Because unfortunately, in the competitive nature, we have a society now that wants everybody to get a trophy. And in that competitive nature, we're robbing of our kids and our future. That's why we're going to end up as a nation being a laughing stock, because we're going to have a whole bunch of people that don't understand the nature of competitor and wanting to be the best. Those are, listen, when you win a national championship, I've seen so many people do the ring, and some people say, well, it was because how close she did it and the fact that she chased around. Yeah, she could have did that differently. However, to go from two people having just come out of a competitive match, that's what people don't get. That competitive nature that you have when you're on that court, on the gridiron, wherever it is, and the other guy has been in your stuff, sometimes you may not respond the exact same way you would. I'd hate to see some of the reactions some of these people who are saying what they would say, Curtis, if they were at that pinnacle. If you've never been a champion of think about this. They just won against the best player in the game and just won the pinnacle of their sport. And
the first for their school.
And the first for their school. But what she did, she had done the ring thing several times throughout the tournament. Okay. So she had tapped her ring finger, talking about we're going for a national title several times. That wasn't the first time she did it, but people who hadn't watched didn't know that. And then number two is she responded with what Caitlin had done. If Caitlin had won, I promise you, she may not would have done the ring. She probably would have, because she would have done her John Cena thing, and it wouldn't have been anything wrong with it. If you think she should have went off and did it over somewhere else, then that's fine. But to go from poor sportsmanship to thug and to N-word and to all of that, that's where I know that it's deeper than just you reacting to what you saw. Hey, was it bad sportsmanship? Probably.
And to say this, like, I saw a lot of Alabama fans getting on bashing Angel Reese. I just got a question. I remember being a senior, just graduating high school, Alabama 2009, winning the SEC championship after coming back and after losing to Florida the year before. And I remember all these Bama guys on the sideline doing the Gator chomp, mock, the neck slash, all that. Bama fans, if you didn't have a problem with Mark Ingram and Julio Jones and all of them doing that, please be quiet about Angel Reese doing this for winning the national championship.
Exactly right.
So, and like I said, I don't have a problem addressing things like that here, because I try to be balanced, Curtis. But like you said, man, we just took a great sports moment. We have taken some of the fun and the competitive nature. Yeah, there are some things that's just inappropriate, but I think some people didn't even realize she was tapping a ring finger. Okay, that's number one. Some of the comments I saw, I'm like, they don't even realize that she is tapping, that we're getting a ring. They think she's flipping her off.
Yeah.
They literally thought she was doing an open up raised finger flip off is what they thought, Curtis. Some people, based on their comments, I'm like, how out of touch can you be? So, but with that said, if this was Alabama and they had taken down that young lady, and Alabama had a basketball player that tapped a ring finger around the girl, but here's the other part. Here's the other part that I know that some of these responses were embedded. Now, some people, that's their opinion, and that's fine. And they had no racist intent behind some of the comments. But Courage, let me tell you when I know it's racist. When you take one person's act and then you apply it to that whole team. Let's say the young lady had been totally 100% far out of bounds with her response. What did all the other players do? Mm-hmm. What did all the other players do? So why would you go a bunch of thugs? They got a bunch of thugs. You see what I'm saying? That lets me know that you watched the game, and let's just be real, they had a predominantly white team and a really good white player, and a team that had predominantly black players or all black players, and one team won, and then when you just took one person's action and just labeled that whole team that you don't know, that tells me that there's deeper issues, because you didn't see a bunch of thugs, even if you thought that one person's actions was thuggish. You see what I'm saying?
And as Dawn State addressed that when they lost in their semifinal round, and she addressed exactly that, how they were talking about her team, that exact same way they were talking about her team. There's no reason for it. There's just absolutely no reason for it, other than racial bias.
Yep.
That's all that
and
is.
unfortunately, Curtis, we're in a nation that can't get out of its own way, and figure out how to resolve our racial issues, because we won't be honest with each other. That we both sides have issues, opportunities, and challenges. But but we'll sit back and point and complain and then not be real when it happens one way or the other. So, but anyway, any closing thoughts before I let you go, man?
Just one, and that is that between the girls' championship and the boys' championship, I guarantee the majority of the people who are watching these games can name far more players in the girls' championship that was playing than was in the guys' championship. Just tell you how far women's basketball has come along.
We're going to have to get on board. I think they're going to give, what's the name, at least one more year. Just being honest with you, and maybe she gets over the top.
That's another year in the mud.
So,
another year in the mud.
Hey, real quick.
Look at LSU players.
Real quick, what are your thoughts on the basketball team? Are you worried and concerned that this 1 year we're going to have so much upheaval in all season that we take a step back, or does Nate Oates overcome the potential loss of all of his coaches and potential players?
Actually, Martin, I feel good about it going into with the disheaval that we've got right now, because I don't feel that the team that we had and the teams that Nate normally puts on the field, including that Buffalo, are teams that's going to win the NCAA. They will get there. Ain't no doubt about it. They'd be better teams than what we've had on a regular basis. They're not going to win the NCAA. Look at UConn. Look at San Diego State. Those are grown men down in the paint. That kid for UConn is a beast. I mean, that kid can play, but he is stronger than strong. Yeah. We didn't have anybody like that. Nobody like that.
And that's why and that's why I said what I said, Curtis. I think that Namari and the other guy might be making room for Quinley to come back, but Nate Oates still to have spots to go get a couple big guys. I may be wrong. I may be wrong, but I think that he's doing some roster management.
He's got 3 7-footers right now that he's talking to in the transfer portal.
And I think that's
right.
Yep. So
and that's gonna make a world of difference. And that's where the key is, the transfer portal. Those girls who played for LSU, not one of them girls was playing from high school ranks. Angel Reese, Carson, that point guard, the same point guard that Markey kicked off the team when she was over at Baylor, and she's been to 3 or 4 different schools. Markey brought her right back to LSU. Look what she done.
Yeah.
Win a national championship with her. So the transfer portal is going to be the ticket. That's just the way basketball is now.
Oh, Virgil Williams said it's time for Quinley to move on. He'll be 25, so it probably is.
He'll be 26. I thought he'd be 26.
No, he'll be 25.
He'll be
25. Okay.
No, he'll be almost.
Yeah, you can get those
he'll be almost 26, though. To your point, by the time it gets right, he's already 24. So this time next year, you'd be looking at almost a 26-year-old. And that's what you're probably thinking, Curtis.
Yeah, he's got tenure. Don't he have tenure?
Yeah.
Good gracious, that boy been there a long time.
All right, man. Have a good one. Appreciate that conversation.
All right,
All right, coming back on the other side, we'll keep the conversation going right here on the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9.
This is a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update.
I'm Kim Rankin with your Tide Sports Update. Alabama guard Javon Quinterly entered his name into the NBA draft. Alabama center Charles Bediako will test the NBA draft waters. Former Alabama pitcher David Robertson earned his first save of the season.
This has been a Town Square Media Tide 100.9 Sports Update. Run it again! For more info on these stories and more, download the Tide 100.9 app. Tide 100.9 Traffic.
From the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center on a rainy, stormy Monday morning. No active wrecks at the moment. We have had some overnight, but they've all been cleared up. But if you see conditions throughout the day that folks need to hear about, give me a call. It's a new month with brand new deals at Townsend Nissan, your hometown dealer. Go grab one today. I'm Captain Ray.
The universal truth of women's shoes. The cuter they are, the more they hurt.
You have to put your best foot forward, and if your best foot is an ugly shoe, oh my goodness.
Lise Ann thought she had to choose between looking good and feeling good until she got fitted for arch supports at the Good Feet store.
Now I can wear the shoes that I've picked out because I like the way they look, not because they were comfortable.
Good Feet relieved her pain and her fashion dilemma. Stop by or schedule your free fitting at goodfeet.com.
Find your local Tuscaloosa Good Feet store in the Midtown Village.
Hey guys, this is Gary Harris. It's all about confidence. Confidence knowing you'll be ready when your partner is, and confidence knowing you'll be able to go a few extra rounds if needed. Confidence is what you get with the chewables from BlueChew.com. Sex should be the best part of your day. And for you and your partner, the chewables from BlueChew.com can make sure you're able to perform at your best when the time arises. No wasted opportunities with this stuff. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form at a fraction of the cost. Blue Chew's tablets are a performance enhancement for the bedroom and can help men gain extra confidence when it's time to perform. So if you could benefit from extra confidence when it's time to perform, visit BlueChew.com. And here's a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code ROLLTIDE at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code ROLLTIDE, and receive your first month free.
Hi, this is Jason Hansen. I'm a former CIA officer and best-selling author on safety and preparedness. The fact is, things are getting downright scary for everyone who's storing their wealth in the banks. We just saw the collapse of 3 major banks, and I would urge you to consider protecting your wealth ASAP. If even a tiny percentage of Americans attempt to withdraw their savings, we would see a collapse of the entire banking system, sending us into a modern-day Great Depression. Fortunately, there is a way for you to avoid this. It starts with contacting Advantage Gold. If you have an IRA or 401k, Advantage Gold can help convert those paper assets into physical gold and silver. This is the process that I recommend everybody use as a hedge against rapid inflation and to protect your retirement wealth from the banks. Take control of your financial safety today. Call 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
Advantage Gold is not an investment advisor or a tax advisor. Consult with your financial advisor before investing.
Call 800-900-8000.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9. X, good conversation there in terms of what's happening in terms of the basketball world, and unfortunately, the current status of our nation due to our political climate of our nature. You had some things that tainted, I think, a really good run by LSU. And, instead of people talking about them reaching a pinnacle, they're talking about what happened afterwards. So that's unfortunate. But, hey, let's move the conversation along. If you want to respond, X, or if you're out there want to respond to any of that conversation, you're always welcome to. We got some football conversation we can have. We can also talk about Bama hoops and your concern there. But before we transition, let's quickly bring in Chuck Hunt. Chuck, you in with Martin and Xavier on Tide 100.9 on the Alabama One Hotline. What's on your mind, sir?
Good morning to you all. I was just chiming in on the conversation that you all were talking about. And, I watched the game yesterday. Brother Houston, you and I don't know the others out there. There's some others out there that remember what happened yesterday is a throwback to you start getting a feeling of 1980s Georgetown men's basketball team under legendary coach John Thompson. They dealt with those same things like we were talking about with LSU and South Carolina. They had to do them even when back when Patrick Ewing was playing. That's why he didn't allow his players to do interviews, because they were painting negative narratives of Georgetown is talking about they couldn't read and all kinds of things. Like you said, thugs and all that. They made those kind of things about talking about Hoyer paranoia and all that. That was that thing that was going on then. And and I was thinking about Kim O'Keefe coming in, what she's done with programs. I remember her back when she was playing at Tech and when she was an assistant there. Tech didn't want to hire her, but what happened, it worked out when she went to Baylor. She built the program there, championships, and now back in Louisiana. She's from down that way anyway, from Tickfaw, Louisiana, outside of Hammond. And what she's done, she's always been a champion. She was champion back in high school at Hammond High School. And everywhere she's had championship. Now in her second season at LSU, has a championship. What happened to when she was at Tech, Dr. F.J. Taylor was president. He's the one who started the Lady Texas. That said a lot about him as a president, because, a lot of presidents there, those who are not interested in sports or who are not into women's sports. But Dr. F.J. Taylor was an open-minded president. When he started Lady Texas, look at that legacy that started, and look what it turned out to be, going back to the AIAW.
Yeah. Without a doubt, Chuck, and she has been a champion. I think she even spent some time as an Olympian. So,
she sure did. She was an Olympian as well.
Yeah,
and that championship pedigree is championship pedigree, no matter where it comes from, and you can see it. And she's done it. And now without the portal and NIL, she probably doesn't get to this point that fast. But she does, she's been able to do that, and kudos to her. And you hope to see that happening. Aiden, what were your statement? Aiden, I think you were trying to make a comment.
Yeah, I had a typo in there. I hit caps lock by accident. I was going to say those outfits are championship pedigree too, man. you got to love the way she dressed on that sideline. She got that style.
Hey, you're talking about. But guess what? And Curtis, if Curtis was on right here, he would agree with this. You know how Curtis always says your team reflects your personality? Yeah. I mean, she is flamboyant. When I saw that, I was showing. I don't know if you saw the what they call the B-roll. And she had the big one. She had white pants on with, I don't even know what that jacket was, but it had pink and all these other colors in it. I said, flamboyant. And that's the way she wants her team to play, like with a little bit of that edge and a little bit of that arrogance. And let me tell you a guy who I cannot stand as a player, as a football player, Chuck, Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
You know why I don't. You know why I don't like Joe Burrow?
Does he beat your team?
Because he is yes. But if Joe Burrow was my guy, I'd probably be defending him, right?
Joe Burrow.
Let's be real, right? If Joe Burrow was my guy, I would find a way to make an excuse for the way he carries himself. But because
look at all the guys. Look at all the guys you played with. I mean, a lot of the guys you played with were flamboyant, boisterous. I mean, you talk about Copeland and Curry, T. You played with a lot of guys that were very flamboyant and showed it through their play.
And so what I learned, I was really quiet and reserved, and Simeon and Xavier always laugh when they see me play Aiden, and they see my response. Like if you,
I remember you guys.
If you ever, thanks, Chuck, appreciate it.
All right, you all take care.
Have a great one. Aiden, if you ever go back and watch some of my film, like I score a touchdown, and I walk over, I take a knee, and thank God, and walk off the field. Everybody else is jumping up and down. Like if you go back, and this is Simeon, one of Simeon's favorites. Aiden is like, I crush a guy on one of Derek Lassett's touchdown in the SEC championship game, and I'm walking off the field. Everybody else is running on the field, slapping high five. But that was my personality. But it never bothered me that Derek Lassett did the Fred Sanford heart attack and fell out in the back of the end zone. You see what I'm saying? Like that didn't bother me. And what people sometimes have a hard time dealing with is when someone expresses their excitement differently. And I do think there's lines and there's borders, but you also have to know the nature of the competition. Like how much talking happened between Kate and that young lady during the game? How much?
An incredible amount.
How much of the exact same response would have been, and then they don't think anything of it. Like literally, if they saw each other today, they would be fine. But people who watched it saw something different because they were not in the heat of the battle and have not ever been in the heat of the battle. And like I said, yeah, could she have gone off and celebrated with her teammates? Yeah. Could she have done it different? Yeah. But I don't think it. First of all, we also need to remember that media always wants to manipulate. And they're not showing you the other, whatever young ladies that were running and slapping high five and shaking and hugging and all of that. They only showing you that one image. So be careful not to label everybody. But X, back to you, man.
No, I mean, I agree when you look at it. And you talk about how your personality was on the field. When you look at me and Simeon was more closer to you being reserved. While I was like, hey, man, I'm having fun. Like, and I showed it a little bit more. But I mean, but you never criticized me or got on to me about how I celebrated because that was my personality. In that sense, on the field, I had a little bit bigger of a personality than the two of y'all. But it's all about, there are lines and everything, but as you said, people have to understand that when you're doing something amazing, when you're having fun, emotions come out. You want it, and everybody shows it differently.
Yeah.
Of course, I do love you against Tennessee when you made the block for Derek, and it's the only time, Aiden, like everybody listening, I've watched almost every single one of my dad's games in college. He celebrated when he scored his first touchdown. He threw his hands up in the air, and that was it. And then against Tennessee his senior year, he makes a block. He's laying on his back, and he just shoots his arm straight up in the air. That's the two times I watched him celebrate in his 4 years at Alabama.
X, we're going to need the archive footage for some promotional content.
Yeah, man, it's hey, but you know what, Aiden, man, you're 18 to 22, 23, well, 28 now, but in college.
I ain't got beef with Stetson Bennett and JQ.
Yeah. In Tennessee had a couple 24, 25-year-olds as well. But, I mean, it's an emotional game. It's a competitor. And you don't want to quench it. You don't want to go over the line. It's funny to me how we want, it's funny how the NFL lets their players celebrate and college doesn't. And I am a big proponent. Celebrate, but don't make your other teammates look bad. And that's why I say that, yes, maybe, if she had gone somewhere else, but the only reason I give, if it was a normal situation and I knew everything, I would say don't celebrate in her face, go off with your team. But I don't know the nature in which, the nature in which your competition happened.
Well, and this is something I was wondering if it had been brought up yet much. I mean, maybe Curtis Lewis touched on it, but like Caitlin Clark has been an elite get under your skin trash talker and taunter all season. I can guarantee she spent the whole 60 minutes leading up to that moment really doing everything she could to get under Angel Reese's skin. And that was just a moment of vindication for her.
Yeah, and you're right. And Curtis Moore II said that Caitlin said in a press conference that she don't even recall the so-called taunting when a reporter asked her about it. The media is making it a bigger story. Hey, listen, you better believe had Miami beat us in 92, they would have been all in our face for that 93 championship team. But that's part of it. It's part of the game, unfortunately. The media is trying to, once again, there's no money, Aiden, and there's no political power if we agree.
You're absolutely right about that.
So even on my show, even on my show, one of the early producers said, Martin, either make them love you or hate you. Don't get caught in the middle. Now, I do it with integrity, but I will give strong opinions. Like sometimes I give really, really strong opinions on Nick Saban that most people won't say. You know, and sometimes those opinions are not even my own opinion, like that I feel, but I still feel like part of my job in the media is to bring the other perspective. But I try to do it in a way with integrity and all of that, not just to incite hatred or anything like that, but to make you think. But the worst thing, when, if me, you, Xavier, all get on here and I ask a question and y'all go, yep, agree. Who's like, there's sometimes you guys nail it, man. Y'all literally nail it. And I'm like, well, they just took my response. So I still will ask the other side though. That part's okay. But when you intentionally do things that you try to create the story versus reporting the story and then giving your opinion on what you're reporting, that's when you cross the line. So let's keep a little bit of conversation going. We had, like I said, we had plenty of time for football. Nick Saban, to me, didn't practice on Saturday, didn't scrimmage on Saturday, I should say. Should we read anything into that, X?
Not sure where X is, but I don't think we should, Martin. I think Nick Saban's going to make the decision he's going to make, and he has earned every right to go in the direction he deems fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is, I think with as far out as A-Day is, he's just trying to give these guys as much rest in between the practices and everything. So I do believe that there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, we'll see a scrimmage this week, next week, and then A-Day, of course.
Yeah, and I would say this is what I think it is. I even though we have, this, a lot of the terminology stays the same when new coaches come in, they still have to learn that terminology. They have to be able to flow, right? So some of this is how much are you ready to put on public display when you have two brand new coordinators? So I think it was I don't think it's a problem behind it, but I think what's behind it is the university and Nick Saban saying, "Hey guys, let's not go public yet with our new offense and our new defense, even for our fans or those who would be able to come into the scrimmage. Let's give another week of the coaches learning the new terminology, meaning, yeah, defensively still doesn't have as far to go as Reese does. But so I think that's what it is. I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's a negative or a bad thing, but I think, you practice behind the scenes a little bit longer before you go live, because when you go live, it's not as much time to do as much coaching. You want guys out there reacting, and I don't think they're at that point yet. And so I think that's why Nick Saban chose to kick things back a week and all of that. So we'll pick back up on some more conversation around Alabama football on tomorrow. Aiden, looking at who's going to be the step up players. Think about that for a second, listeners, and be ready to talk to us about it tomorrow. Who's your guy? Who's going to be the breakout, a runaway player? We can start looking at some of the awards and stuff that Saban has coming up. That spring ball brings out. We can start looking at some of those, who may be some of those. But who's your guy? Who's going to be the player that you want to follow all spring? X, real quick, and we'll talk more on this on Thursday with Hank South. But you see Wolford getting another one of his type guys? You see that?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And woo, that's a big old boy and a young one.
Yeah, he just finished the 10th grade, Aiden. He's 6'7", 16 years old, 15 to 16 years old, 6'7", 280-pound left tackle in high school. and already committed to Alabama out of Georgia. We have to hold on to him, but the type player that Wolford wants, one of those big-bodied guys. So that gets me even more excited because I know what he wants to do when you start seeing him sign those types of guys, like he wants to be committed to the run game. So really excited about that, and we'll ask Hank what we're getting in him. X, let's circle back really quick and close out just a little conversation on basketball. Are you worried? Earlier, Curtis Lewis said he wasn't worried because he thinks that unless Nate Oates makes changes in personnel, body types, that we're going to be good for SEC competition, but not good enough to get over the hump in terms of March Madness.
I'm not really too worried. When you look at it, you're looking at guys that stay in a program 3, 4, 5, 6 years currently with the COVID rules and everything like that. So those teams do have that advantage. So what Alabama has to do, you got to have your guys that can come in and play early and contribute early, but you also have to be able to recruit guys that are going to be here in your program for 3 or 4 years, so those guys can get bigger, get stronger, get faster, and be a benefit to the program over the long term. And that's what you see tonight with San Diego State and UConn. They have guys that have been in that program 3, 4, 5 years that have grown men bodies. They're not 18, 19 years old just getting really introduced to a weight room, but having that amount of time at the college level, college nutrition, lifting, all of that benefits you with a bigger, stronger body.
And that's the beauty of what Alabama has to figure out. Do they change their bodies? Do they change their rosters? Will a Pringle be, after a year, will he be a bigger, stronger version of himself if he stays? Bediako made tremendous leaps from a freshman to a sophomore, but will he stay? Will he stay? Clowney could be one of those big-bodied guys that could take the typical guy covering him down in the post and wear him out because he's already big-bodied. But Clowney is barely 18 years old, So you can only imagine what could happen if he had a year in a program. So there's a lot to do and go and grow in terms of the program. We'll keep talking about it right here. I do want to keep that conversation going for tomorrow with DC Capstone Report. And that's Xavier Houston. I'm Martin Houston. That's Aiden Dollins. Thanks to all the callers, listeners, viewers, and chatters out there. Thanks for being a part of the Martin Houston Show with Martin and Xavier, powered by MaX Sports. Remember this: trust in the Lord always, lead not in your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. Wishing everybody out there a happy Passion Week. Hosanna in the highest. He is making his entrance as we talk about it. Hey, join us at Harvest Church on Sunday at 10 a.m. Roll Tide out there, everybody, and have a blessed day.
It's a celebration. Thank you for listening to the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.